Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my garden. Today we are picking tomatoes straight from the garden because we are making southern tomato cracker salad. So come along with me while I chit chat and show you how I make it. So you're going to find the actual recipe in my description. All of the measurements and everything can be found there, so go check that out. But it is a very simple recipe. You'll kind of catch on here as I'm making it. First, you're going to start with your tomatoes. So I've picked some tomatoes from my garden. My garden is overflowing in tomatoes, but at the same time, a lot of them are dying. So I have a ton of ripe tomatoes. Ripe tomatoes from the garden just hit different. They have like a stronger taste to them. They have more flavor, more juice. And so I'm using these tomatoes from my garden to make the salad today, which is a special treat. But if you don't have tomatoes from the garden, just go ahead and get yourself some from the grocery store and they'll work just fine for this. All right, so the ingredients you're gonna need are the tomatoes. You're gonna need some mayonnaise, some salt, pepper, and a sleeve of saltine crackers. So what I'm doing here is dicing the tomatoes. You're going to dice them in small little square pieces and then you're going to rinse them off. You're going to rinse off the seeds and any of the guts from inside the tomato. You want just the tomato. So you want this because you're going to mix in crackers in just a little bit and you don't want your crackers to get too soggy. So that's why we're doing this. So I'm just turning around here and rinsing them off. This recipe is really neat because it's not something that you can find in the restaurants. It's not something you're really going to come across unless you are near a southern kitchen or something like that. So it's a really, homegrown recipe to use up tomatoes. It's a very simple one when you have a lot of tomatoes, and it's really nice to have with a sandwich or alongside anything else. I think tonight we're making ribs and we're going to have this as a side dish. All right, so just like I said, tomatoes from the garden are different. This one turned out being really dark in color on the inside, and I wasn't sure if it was good or not, but I gave it a little bite and it tastes pretty good. It's just got a darker color and it's got a very flavorful taste to it. But I'm gonna go ahead and use it, so I'm gonna chop it up here. The tomatoes from the garden, you never know what you're going to get. I'm growing all kinds of tomatoes, beefsteak tomatoes, petite tomatoes, Roma tomatoes, every kind of tomato I have growing out there. So I'm just kind of mixing and matching with tomatoes as well. But they're all really, really good. So this salad is something that you got to make in the moment. It's not something that you can make ahead, and it's not something that you can really store. You could do some steps beforehand, such as dicing the tomato and what I'm going to show you in a little bit, mixing in the mayonnaise, and you can possibly chill that in the fridge and then add in your crackers. But once you add in your crackers, you got to eat it right in that moment. So that's something to keep in mind when it comes to this recipe. But this recipe is super simple and it almost tastes like a sandwich in a bowl. It's so good. So I just used tomato, and if you would like to add anything to it, I know some people add little bacon bits. You can always do that and it would taste kind of like a BLT or something like that. So now I'm adding in some salt and some pepper, and those are the only two seasonings I'm going to use. It's very simple. And then I'm using a cup of mayonnaise. You can check in my description for the actual measurements for what I have listed in there. So the mayonnaise, some people like a specific kind of mayonnaise. I'm just using the Walmart brand, but I've been told that Best Foods or certain brands of mayonnaise really, really are good for this salad. But I always just kind of use whatever I have on hand. So this works for me, and I ended up having it later on, and it is so good. So just use whatever mayonnaise you have on hand or your favorite if you have it. As far as the crackers, this recipe calls for saltines, but you can use Ritz, or if you happen to have some other kind of cracker, you could also use that. So that's what it looks like once you mix the mayonnaise, the salt and pepper in. I'm going to chill it for a little bit while I crush up my crackers, just so that it gets a little bit cooled down. It's not that it's warm, but the tomatoes were from directly outside from the garden, so they're not cold. And I like my tomatoes really cold. So I went ahead and kind of crumbled up my crackers just in my hands, and it made about 2 cups. That whole sleeve was about 2 cups. All right, so now I've pulled out the tomatoes and the mayonnaise from the fridge, and I'm adding in my crackers. I'm getting ready to eat. So this is when you want to go ahead and add in your crackers, is when you're ready to go ahead and eat it. So I'm adding in a little bit here and kind of mixing it in so that it gets covered with the mayonnaise, and then I'm adding in a little bit more until we go through that whole 2 cups of crackers. If you prefer less crackers or more crackers, you can always make this recipe to your taste. This recipe is super easy. As you can see, you probably don't even need the recipe. So just make it to your own taste, however you like. Mix it in, and if you find that you need more salt or pepper, you can always add that in even at the very end. So I'm just kind of folding it over, and it's getting pretty much ready here. Everything's getting covered. And so that's what it'll kind of look like, as you can see. And then I'm going to put it in a nice bowl, and I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit more salt and pepper, and that's what it looks like. It is really good, y'all. I really do recommend this salad if you have lots of tomatoes to use up. It's a great summer salad. Thank you for coming along, and I will catch you on our next video.